we are saying goodbye to our fabulous guests who've just been staying with us for 5 nights, 6 days here at Mapperton for our second Grand Historic Tour, and it went swimmingly.
Yeah, it was amazing, and we've just waved goodbye, and it was a bit emotional at the end. So I had to.
It's always sad.
Basically, I had to.
We make friends in this time, don't we?
I had to get myself together before I got on camera.
Yeah, you're not. There's no tears streaming down yet, but
Okay,
they probably will
as
we relive it. So we thought today we would just take you through and talk about all the things that we did on this amazing tour.
And you'll be able to see kind of the aftermath.
And obviously we've got little bits of footage from the expeditions and all the different things that people were doing. So, people had a great time.
They had a great time.
Anyway, come on in.
And by the way, if you're already saying, wait, what? Are you going to do another Grand Historic Tours? Yes, we are. Stay to the end and we'll give you the exact dates for 2025. But we also had amazing weather, didn't we?
We were so lucky. There was one biblical storm where we had about 20 millimeters of rain in an hour, and I thought, oh my God, Mapperton is going to leak somewhere. But amazingly, there were no leaks this time.
No, and it was sun then from there on out, so phew. So
people arrived. Dan the butler, of course, was here to welcome everybody, and he brought the suitcases in, takes them all up to your room. The rooms were looking fabulous, super warm, lots of lovely warm towels, sheets, dressing gowns.
Exactly.
And then we were straight into our first dinner.
Well, yes. Well, we do a big, we do a big welcome, sort of drinks in here in the hall, and then all the meals are in the dining room.
So in the dining room,
but it's been cleared out now.
Was set with as much silver as I can remember last night. Last night was our last night gala dinner. And we had a little concert beforehand, which we'll talk about in a minute. But this table was fully set, and everybody was here having a delicious 5-course meal.
Well, that was last night, but we did do a big welcome formal dinner for them when they arrived. So they had welcome formal dinner on the Monday night. Then there was the special American Heiress dinner, which is based on your great-grandmother's book of receipts, and we did a 3-course meal based on those recipes.
Because the recipes were actually from her recipe book. Now, you say book of receipts. I wouldn't know what that meant, but receipt means recipe.
Yes, it does, and she calls them that. And all of again, the table was beautifully laid, but all of the menus were done by Polly, who is our sister-in-law, and the menus every night for the first welcome dinner, for the American Heiress Supper Club, and for the dinner you were just mentioning, which was the farewell dinner, were all beautifully designed by her. They were really special.
And the food, of course, was delivered by wonderful chef who comes to Mapperton, Jo Killen, and her team. And last night was an absolute
what was your
5-course extravaganza.
Yeah, what was your favorite of all of them?
Well, I think it would have to have been the Mapperton venison last night. And then, of course, the grapefruit and gin sorbet, which was a kind of cleansing course. That was
so
very
my
good.
favorite
wines, fantastic wines.
Yeah.
Dan, of course, is also a wine expert and would give a little talk at the start of each meal about the wines and the pairing.
Okay, so for the main course this evening, we have a Gamay, which is often compared to a Pinot Noir. Very similar, but I think what the Gamay brings is something a little bit more floral. And then on the nose and on the palate, you're going to get 3 very distinct flavours. You're going to get cherry, you're going to get raspberry, and you're going to get plum. And this is going to be a great pairing, I hope, for your main course. Sounds good to me.
Fantastic.
And our main course is duck.
Love duck.
And that was rather special, wasn't it?
Are you going to ask me what my favourite?
I had forgotten to do that, but I shall do it now. What was your favourite?
My favourite was the American Heiress Supper Club. So that's
I wasn't invited to that, by the way.
No, you were.
But she hosted it beautifully, or so I heard. Right, moving on. This takes us through into the hall, of course. And the highlight of our time here, well, we had teas, we had drinks, and of course there was the 1,000-piece puzzle.
Yep.
And what subject should we have chosen for the puzzle but a county map of Dorset? Now you can see that people had so many other things to do that the puzzle was not finished, but we do need to give a shout out to a particular guest, we won't mention her name, who did a fantastic job of at least
Look at that.
filling in the top corner. The rest of this is going to be filled in by the kids over Christmas, we hope.
Yeah, we say we hope.
Wonderful fires going over here. And everybody just
lovely.
relaxing in the hall.
It's been the best trip of my life.
No, it hasn't.
Yes, it has. I
Patty.
love England. I love this house. I love Mapperton. The host and hostess were perfect. The staff was wonderful. It was so well planned. And it takes a lot to get me out of Michigan, which I love. And I think I love England even more.
Oh, Patty, that's so
nice. And I can
nice.
say my wife is not prone to hyperbole. So when she says this is, I've never heard this before. It's honest and it's truthful. And you know, like a lot of people probably that'll be watching this video, we've had a chance to go to nice places and experience nice things. You've got to experience it here to understand the uniqueness. And it's an experience that will stay in our memories forever.
And then we go on through into the staircase hall, and of course this was a space that was used because from here we actually went out on a couple of nighttime expeditions. Ben the ranger took our guests out to go and see the deer rutting at night, and I took them out yesterday for a bat walk,
And you saw
a
lots of
guided
bats.
bat walk. Well, we saw no bats at all to
No, I
start
know.
with, and I was rather panicking. And then suddenly I thought, let's try the boiler room downstairs. And there were so many horseshoe bats hanging from the ceiling. Everybody was delighted. And we got to see the gardens in the floodlight.
So your mom, and also your mom did a great job. She gave a tour of the house and she gave a tour of the gardens as well.
That's true.
So-
you did a tour of
I did.
Alberta.
So yeah.
And before that, though, because we've forgotten a really important tour, that was my tour. And I gave a rewilding tour with Ben. We spent 3 hours out at Mapperton Wildlands looking at the pigs, the ponies, we visited the beavers,
Well,
and of
we
course
didn't
the
visit
white...
the beavers because they're not there.
Well, they're not
but-
there, but we visited their home, even though they've chosen to
Preparing,
desert it.
And also, while they were here, they went to 2 other historic houses, and those historic house homeowners are friends of ours. So they went to visit Athelhampton, which is about 30 minutes from here, a fantastic Tudor house, and they had lunch there. They were in the gardens. And then they went to Sherborne Castle, and they had lunch in the castle with Mariah, who's the custodian of the castle, her and her husband, Ed. And they went around the gardens.
They went into some gift shops,
No, they
antique stores.
No, they went to antique. So that was the highlight, everybody. Everybody knows how much I love antiquing. They went into some fantastic, because we just have them all over this country.
They came back with bags of stuff. I don't know how they're going to fit
in
it.
antique
fit
shops.
it on the plane.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And then, of course, for our last night, when we were here, we had drinks and champagne in the drawing room.
Yeah.
And we had this wonderful fire roaring away.
It was.
Everybody very much enjoying themselves. And that, of course, was just before the concert that we had in the library. You've come back for your second Grand Historic Tour.
Yes.
How was it?
I mean, fantastic. I know, just as good as the first time. Sam is such a great host, you know, a guide. The house excursions are great, and then of course just being at Mapperton is kind of my happy place. So, I just go spend time in the garden and walk around, and you know, it's such an incredible experience to live in this house for 4 days or 5 days. So really appreciate that you let us do that.
Well, we're so lucky to have you all, and it's been a lovely, lovely group. One of the expeditions this year was off to Sherborne Castle. Tell me what that was like.
So that was different. So that was different than what we did last year, and absolutely beautiful. I mean, the gardens by Capability Brown were stunning, and it's just very comforting and just very beautiful. And then Mariah was such a great host there, and she cooked. She cooked you both bourguignon for us. And it was wonderful. Yeah, no, and we had to, I mean, everybody's just always smiling and saying that it's like a dream. You know, right. They can't believe they had such a great experience.
So I had to then take apart the American Heiress exhibition, which they all were able to see, and I gave them a big tour of that on the day of my American Heiress dinner. And then we reset it, and it looks completely different, doesn't it?
And we had the wonderful Giles, who's been here before, sitting where I'm sitting now, playing all sorts of songs from Flanders and Swan to Gilbert and Sullivan.
Yes.
And I shan't begin to try to emulate him because it would be a disaster.
No, it would be a disaster. It would be a disaster.
We were singing. There was
lots of people were.
I didn't hear you singing, though.
No, I was singing.
Were you singing?
Yeah.
Okay.
The hippopotamus song I was definitely singing.
The hippopotamus song was a favourite.
The hippopotamus
anyway,
song. And then they also had a lovely day, the day of the farewell day, which was the farewell 5-course meal, the concert in here. That day they spent at Lyme Regis. Yeah. They
learned all about Mary Anning, who of course was the famous paleontologist who discovered an ichthyosaur in the cliffs of Lyme Regis, and also of course the famous cob that features in Persuasion by Jane Austen, and also of course the French Lieutenant's Woman.
Yes, with Meryl Streep.
So there's that famous scene, and it was all filmed there.
And then they did some fossiling at Seatown.
And they did some fossiling as well.
Yes.
So it was a pretty packed trip, but also people were able to sort of step back and have time to themselves as well. And we loved it, and we made tremendous friends, and we miss them already, and we are already looking forward to next year.
So if you're interested, we do this once a year. Next dates are set. It's October 5th through the 10th, 2025. All details down below, grandhistorictours.com. These get sold out pretty quickly, so do check it out. It's great fun. As you said, we make great friends.
And they all make good friends as well.
Great, yeah.
And they come from all different corners of the United States. And
we have to give a huge shout out. We have got Sam, who is kind of she's our tour director here. So if you've ever watched The Love Boat, that's what it was.
Not Love Island. Look at you,
The Love Boat with Julie. Sam is like Julie from The Love Boat. She's like your tour director.
Sam is not, for the avoidance of doubt, on Love Island. That is definitely not true. Sam is brilliant, does a fantastic job looking after everybody. Dan was fabulous. Beryl, our housekeeper, also. And of course, Jo and her team.
Jo and her team do all the cooking. And then you and I, we
just come along and enjoy ourselves.
We do. We do. No, that's what I'm saying.
Anyway, we really hope to see you here next year. grandhistorictours.com if you're interested in learning more.
And now we've got to clean up. Let's go.
Let's go.
Right. I just finished picking 1 3/4 of our 2 biggest apple trees here. Still have to get into the apple orchard, but I'm afraid, Luke, like you lose on the apple picking. What you and William picked, sorry, William too, it's just a bit pathetic compared to what I'm just about to take to the fruit farm to be pressed for the first round. It's been, yeah, anyway, I'm fast as well. So look at what I've done, everybody. Here's my stash, everybody. Huge box, bags. That is full. This, I can't lift it up, but it is full. And Luke and William filled like that much. I filled all the way up. Back here, I was gonna show you. Massive box. We've got bags everywhere. Another box kind of falling forward there, and there's another big bag. So, this should get us about, I mean, we're looking for 250 bottles, but the first load, this will probably get us, you know, like, I would say 75 to 80 bottles right here. This is our sort of bin, and we have picked quite a lot. We're not quite halfway full, but nearly.
Yes, it's raining yet again at Mapperton. Just as we thought we were coming out into some sunshine, the heavens opened.
It wasn't forecast
God,
to rain
it wasn't
today.
forecast, was it? Put our hoods on. Anyway, even though it is raining, we've come somewhere that doesn't dampen the spirits in the slightest, because these are parts of the Mapperton Wildlands project that get us really excited. Claire, you're excited about what we're doing here, aren't you?
Excited and nervous at the same time.
Excited and nervous. This field in particular has a very specific purpose, and it's going to be an orchard.
Yeah.
And what's more exciting about it than it just being, and we're getting wetter and wetter here.
Poor Chris.
This is Coltley. So Coltley was a mixed farm. It had a little bit of arable, it had a dairy, it would have had some crops, but most interestingly, it had an ancient orchard. And this orchard would have been part of the food crop that was supporting the community of people that lived up at Coltley. And there may have been as many as 30 or 40 people living in this small farm area. So the orchard would have been really important, particularly this time of year, which is when you would start to pick the fruit, harvest the fruit. And Claire, tell us a little bit about what we know of the history of the orchard.
Well, all I know about the history of the orchard is back in the late 1800s, early 20th century. There was certainly an orchard here. And when we were looking at developing the countryside stewardship scheme and the agreement, looking at the rewilding area, it was a specific part that Natural England and Dr. Tom had picked up, and everyone thought it would be a great idea to rejuvenate the old traditional orchard that was once here.
So we're going to bring back the orchard, and what's really helpful is that it is shown on the old maps, what are called the tithe maps. So you can see very clearly that, as Claire says, 150 years ago, there was an orchard here. Let's go look at the land and see what we're going to be planting where. Look at all this fabulous new fencing though.
So we might need a spot of drainage just in this entrance area.
Claire says we might need some drainage. I think that's a fair point. What will we do for drainage, Claire? What are the options?
Probably some perforated pipe, some cross drains perhaps.
Cross drains to get the water that's coming here.
Exactly,
over
straight
there.
over into the stream beyond.
Yeah. But look at this, it's been cleared and it's been fenced. Look at this fabulous new fencing for Mapperton. It's not been known for the quality of the fencing. It's a reason why so many of our animals keep escaping. But this field is a model of modern fencing. What do you call this type of fencing, Claire?
This is just general stock fencing. And the reason we have stocked it is because we will put sheep in here to graze around the orchard trees to keep the grass down around the tree. They'll be sort of fenced to keep the deer off. So we've got 88 trees, I think, planned to come in here. A mixture of apples, cherries, plums, cob nuts and pears. And every tree is going to have its individual guard.
And that's because this is stock fencing, it's not deer fencing, so it's not high enough to stop the deer coming in, but it will keep the sheep in.
It will.
And we're going to graze it with sheep because it's important for us to stay on top of the grass.
Yeah.
Why would we use sheep here rather than anything else?
I think I might have remembered somebody telling me one day that deer don't necessarily like to go where the sheep have gone.
Right.
So it could also help with keeping deer away.
Keeping the deer away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure some wise person told me that once.
And of course, getting the sheep here is going to be a whole other story.
That will.
And as we know, Claire is an incredible shepherdess, and you'll undoubtedly have all of us helping out, getting them up the hill. So we've got all of that excitement to come. Anyway, let's go have a look at the
We've also got a sheep trailer now, so that might be the way forward.
Yeah, but that can only take how many sheep?
Oh, it'll take probably 10 of ours.
It'll take 10.
It should do.
Okay. Now, all of this area, interestingly enough, used to have another purpose at Mapperton, which is that it was part of a large pheasant pen. And one of the things that, if you've been watching Mapperton Live for a while, you will realise is that we as an estate decided to stop driven pheasant shooting a few years ago, and part of the project has been pulling out the old pheasant pen and replacing it with other sorts of fencing linked to the Nature Recovery Project. And in fact, I think, Claire, I can see a big pile.
No, that's the stock netting that was on the outside of the pheasant pen. So the pheasant pen came out at the end of last year, so the end of 2023, and that's been disposed of. Ben and his team of volunteers have been up here removing pipe, and now we have a lot of tree brush because we had to do a lot of cutting away to actually get the old stock fencing out and the new stock fencing in. And once we've done that, we've got a bit of bracken to control.
Right.
But apart from
it's
that,
sort of ready to go, ready for planting.
We're ready to go.
And we are in the process of ordering the trees, and once the trees have arrived, hopefully in the autumn, we will still get going with the planting. Now that looks like a big bonfire waiting to happen.
It does look like a big bonfire waiting to happen.
Yeah, is that the plan?
Mm.
Yeah. And the other thing to say about this, because it's not a place I've been into very often, is it's wonderfully enclosed.
Yes.
So you're sort of tucked away, but that's also quite good in terms of the likelihood of any frost. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so, because it's quite sheltered with sweet chestnuts and that lovely ash tree there that isn't suffering too much. It should be relatively enclosed and sheltered from any frosts, which of course you don't want with the blossom on the trees and the crops going forwards. But I remember, well, something your mum said recently also is, and I don't know what effect this will have on the trees, but the saline breeze coming across, which I think we probably had a bit of this morning, haven't we? Because we're only, what, 5-6 miles as the crow flies
6 miles from the sea, yes. So there's a bit of shelter from the salt that comes up from the sea, and that will also help with the growth of the orchard. Well, this is terrific. This is a really exciting project. It's just at the very start. We will bring you back when we start planting, and over years to come we're going to have pears, plums, and of course more Mapperton apples.